Have you ever wondered what the science is behind giving music lessons to children at such a young age? Or have you ever been curious about the rumor that children with musical education do better in school? Well, I'm here to tell you and give you the facts between music and the mind. I'm going to start off with a study done in 2006. Dr. Laurel Trainer and her team of researchers took a group of children and divided them into two sections. The first section of children received musical training for a year, and the second did not. As the year ended, the team of researchers took the two groups and tested them. The group that had musical training responded more maturely to musical tones and also found that they were more advanced in general memory skills, which means it also improved their literacy, verbal memory, mathematics, and their IQ. But the second group did not receive these advancements. As a music teacher, I have worked with young children and have seen the development and how their minds grasp musical concepts at such a young age, and I've studied how the mind of children grow through the help of learning the language of music. With a study such as the one that Dr. Laurel Trainer showed, it is easy to see the positive aspects of music training. So when a young child receives musical training, their minds and memory are more developed and prepared for academic and other challenges ahead. We will start off by talking about the brain and music in general. How does the brain function? Then we're going to go a little bit more in depth how the brain stimulates and engages when learning an instrument, and then we'll go and see how it actually develops and how a child's mind is enhanced and improved by the music. And then lastly, we're going to touch a little bit on the Mozart effect, if any of you have heard of that. So let's get started with the brain. When a child is musically trained at a young age, certain parts of their brain grow strong and improve greatly. It is commonly thought that those who are artistic or musically inclined are to be right-brained, and those who are more reasonably, or what's the word? Those who work with numbers and mathematics are said to be left-brained. But, however, music is a great equalizer. It actually requires use of both the left and the right hemisphere when playing music. Each side of the human's brain looks identical, but deep within the workings of it, they're totally different. The left hemisphere works with logic and reasoning, analytical thinking, language, and mathematics, whereas the right hemisphere controls imagination, creativity, emotion, and dimension. So some may ask, how does the left hemisphere contribute to the playing of music and learning of an instrument? Well, when the mind is engaged in learning the new signs and different language of music, it is using the left part of the brain to read and interpret the new incoming information it is learning. To be able to read the tablature, the left brain must interpret and reason out the notes and symbols so the body can actually play the instrument. While the left brain looks like it's doing most of the work, the right has a huge part in playing music as well, has its own job. So, the right side of the brain works with controls the dynamics of the music, the timbre, the intonation, and the expression of emotion. Jack H. David Jr. of the Austin Community College stated that neither cerebral hemisphere is totally dominant for music, but rather both hemispheres are involved. So with that being said, from an audience's ear, they hear the right side of the brain's work from what is being played, pitch changes and patterns, overall quality and sound, and the emotion integrated in the music are important aspects of which the right side controls. It helps the audience feel the music, whereas the left side of the brain is the backbone, the foundation that the right side is playing off of. So, how does music engage and stimulate the whole brain? When an audience goes to hear a symphony play, or just to go to a piano concert, or simply just to listen and enjoy music, the audience's right brain is in dominance when they are just simply listening. That is, if they are not a musician. A musician's brain functions differently when they listen to music. They have more knowledge of what goes on in the performance. Therefore, musicians analyze and approach music more intellectually. They use their left brain to a great extent when they listen to music. When a person is receiving training on an instrument, though, it takes almost every area of the brain to engage and learn it. The visual cortex reads the music. The sensory cortex sends messages to the brain when keys are hit or strings are plucked. The cerebellum tracks the beat of the music, and the hippocampus tracks long-term memories and connects them to familiar songs that they've heard. William J. Cromney from the Harvard University Gazette stated in an experiment done that increased flow of blood and oxygen to different brain areas can be seen as people play music. These parts of the brain are more exercised and developed by people who have learned an instrument. The two sides of the brain have learned to work together to produce something beautiful and captivating. With this information, it is easy to see the great advancement in learning new things, especially when a child is learning an instrument. So now let's talk about the mind of a young child and the connection with music. When a child is exposed at a young age to the whole new world and the language of music, it stimulates the brain in ways that it helps it receive other new information. According to the Children's Music Workshop, there have been recent studies that have indicated that musical training physically develops the left side of the brain that's involved in handling language. In this, it can wire circuits in the brain in some ways, connecting things together. So when music is learned and then practiced, it can help parts of the brain when it learns new things, such as language. But what about the other way around? If enhancement of language is done, it can actually advance parts of the brain that help process music as well. Either way, it goes hand in hand. Becoming more knowledgeable in music can help children in their mathematics as well greatly. In music tablature, the notes receive counts as do rests. Some of these notes can have more than one count, or sometimes one count can have more notes in it. When learning this new information, it can be very hard. But then integrating this into playing music is even more challenging. But these are the skills that, when learned, can help in mathematical studies such as decimals, fractions, and percents. The aspect of physically playing an instrument challenges the mind to work with both sides of the brain to accomplish one task, thus increasing spatial temporal reasoning. So the Mozart effect. Everyone has heard of Mozart at least some point in their life, but Mozart is probably one of the most well-known piano prodigies known. His ability to sight read, compose at such a young age, was almost supernatural. Mozart's music has been the subject of scientific research to many scientists and psychologists as well, because of the great effect it has on the brain. The well-known Mozart effect has been proven to improve cognitive activity such as spatial temporal reasoning and memory. In 1993, researchers Gordon Shaw, Francis Roscher, and Catherine Kay conducted an experiment with six students split into 3 groups. The first group listened to a sonata by Mozart, the second listened to a relaxation tape, and the third sat in silence for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes were over, these groups were then taken and given a test. The test was to mentally unfold a piece of paper that had been cut and then pick which piece it was from a tangible selection. The students who listened to Mozart actually scored 8 points higher than the other 2 groups. So how does Mozart's music improve the brain's capacity in spatial temporal reasoning while other composers do not? Neurologist John Hughes from the University of Illinois Medical Center in Chicago goes through hundreds of compositions of music and concluded that music sequences that regularly repeat 20 to 30 seconds, just as Mozart's compositions do, may trigger the strongest response in the brain, the central nervous system, such as the onset of sleep and brainwave patterns also occur in 30-second cycles. Mozart's music was able to activate the areas of the brain that rule vision, fine motor coordination, which greatly deal with spatial temporal reasoning. Very interesting. So there is said to be a window of opportunity in children's ages 3 to 9 for growth in musical insight. There are many benefits for giving a child musical lessons early, some of which will benefit them later on. James W. Bostrom, author of How to Teach Piano Successfully, states the first 5 years are the most crucial years for intellectual development. The knowledge learned will transcend musical facts and may carry over into other learning experiences. When children are young, they absorb new information and accept more acceptingly than adults. Everything is new to them in the world, and when music is introduced early on, it will become an easier concept for them to grasp continually when older. Music is one of the few activities that activates, stimulates, and uses almost the entire brain to accomplish one task. Learning an instrument helps children in their school subjects, and they become more well rounded as well. Whether it be listening or better, learning an instrument, it should somehow be incorporated into a person's life. Music will help them as a whole and put them in a happier state.